Well, Nick, how you doing back there?
Let's cut the crap and get right down to it. Some people are just better looking than other ones. Some wines just taste better than others. And for some reason, some places are just cooler than others. And from the second that I stepped off the plane and into Torino, Italy, I knew right away that it was one of those places. Torino was Italy's first capital back before it was even called Italy. And it has all of the ingredients that for me, you need in the recipe to make a place amazing. Architecture, history, vibe, culture, cuisine. Torino's the kind of place that captures your heart immediately. And I can't wait to check it out. And lucky for me, I have an old friend that lives here, Andrea Caviglia.
Was it a good trip?
Hi, buddy. How are you? On my previous trip to Italy, Andrea guided me on my first big game hunt in Italy, and things went well.
Perfect shot.
My Italian chamois hunt is over. Now, several years later, I reconnect with Andrea here in Torino at his friend Tommaso's house. Tommaso is an art dealer and a hunter. This is unbelievable. It's like a palace. Tommaso's place is a literal time capsule of how the aristocracy lived centuries ago. And as he showed me around, I was afraid to touch anything. And I was also totally blown away. Unbelievable. There's more history in this tiny little spot right here than just about anywhere in the world. This is the center of it all. The first capital of Italy. The history behind Tommaso's place was just the beginning. The guys and I hit the streets, and within just a few blocks, the amount of history is overwhelming. Like the Palatine Gate, that's one of the best preserved Roman gateways in the world.
Yeah.
All of this is, though, related to the royal court.
Everything.
So is this an old castle here? After a quick history lesson in Romans, kings, and castles, our next stop turned my attention to the more religious side of Torino's history. This is one of the most intense places I've ever been. Right behind that altar right there, in that chapel behind it, is the Shroud of Turin, which is a big piece of linen that it's thought is what covered Christ right after the crucifixion when he was in the tomb. One of the most holy relics on the planet. It's right there. Gives me goosebumps. The Holy Shroud of Turin is one of the most prized relics of Christianity and also one of the most hotly debated. It was originally thought to be the linen cloth that Jesus was buried in, but the authenticity of that claim has been the subject of biblical and scientific study and debate for centuries. Regardless of its origins, the simple fact is that the people who come here to be near it, well, they want it to be real. Holy relics are an important part of the Catholic faith, and that's something that I learned firsthand from my grandmother. My grandma passed away a year ago at the age of 99. She was a devout Catholic. She loved to travel, and I know she would love that I was lighting her a candle here in this church. Such a special place. Miss you, Grandma. Once I'd had my fill of Torino's history, it was time to fill up on some of the other stuff that Italy is famous for, and then Tommaso took me just a few miles out of town to a place that quickly reminded me just why it was that I'd come back to Italy in the first place. This is unbelievable. So this is literally the hunting lodge of the king.
Yeah, the hunting lodge is the king. Yeah.
And it's how far from Torino?
Just 5 miles, 10 kilometers from the city.
And so he would just hop in a carriage.
Yeah, and come here
a couple hours later,
to have
he'd be in his hunting lodge.
Yeah, deer hunting here.
Right.
Yeah.
Which you can see the stag up there and everything.
Yeah.
Historically speaking, Italy and hunting go hand in hand, especially for its native red deer. In medieval times, it kept people fed. It helped men train for war, and it was considered a social occasion. But when it comes to the social side of things, that was definitely mostly enjoyed by the upper classes of the time, and there is probably no better example of this anywhere than the Palazzina di Caccia di Stupinigi, the hunting palace of the king. It's just a little bit different than my hunting lodge. I have 2 bedrooms, he had like 100. Unbelievable.
But you're not a king.
I am. This is true. He's got a point. I am not a king. Feeling very inspired, we hop on the road and the guys took me to one more spot that they say has an ancient tradition that is guaranteed to bring me good luck for my red stag hunt.
To have good luck for hunting, you have to cut the balls of the bulls with your feet.
You have to crush the bull.
You must. The
balls of the bull.
Full.
Go for it.
It's good luck.
Like this?
Yeah.
That's it? In fact, I need extra good luck. You too, come on.
You could also jump.
Hey, whatever it takes, I'm in.
The balls of the bulls.
After an incredible day in Torino, Italy that included stomping on the balls of a bull for good luck, we drive 2 hours south to the Italian Alps and the tiny village of Marmora. I'm immediately struck by the beauty of this place. The trees had their eyeliner and lipstick on, and the mountains looked incredible. Finally, we arrive at my home for the next few days, and it's here that I meet my guide for the rest of the trip, Luca Bergarelli. Luca is one of the most celebrated Italian big game hunters of all time. He has spent his entire life traveling and hunting. He's even written books about it. Now he's the director of operations at the world-class booking agency Montefeltro, who has the exclusive rights to hunt this area and are famous for first-class accommodations. And as Luca shows me around, I realize that Montefeltro has outdone themselves once again, because this place is simply sublime. It's crazy. Luca was just telling me that this house, at least the main part of the house, was built literally in the 11th century. When you put it into perspective that the United States is less than 400 years old, that's pretty incredible. 11th century. I head up to my room and try to get settled after the long trip. I go to sleep with my head in the clouds, dreaming about roaring stag, having no idea that the next morning would begin in the clouds, literally. Today I have an entire Italian posse joining me that includes Andrea, another guy named Andrea who's the local gamekeeper here, Tommaso from Torino, my buddy Iris from Franchi, and of course Luca, all here to help search for a giant Italian stag. The plan here is very similar to hunting elk out west like I'm used to. You hike, you glass, and you call. I'm lucky enough to hit the red deer rut right smack dab in the middle. It's just like elk hunting. It's the exact same thing. They call, you call. That one's pissed off. And I love a good pissed off bull. And they call this rut the roar. And that's because instead of a bugle, the male red deer make a moaning, roaring sound that is very unique. My first day in the Italian Alps chasing these stag was awesome. After the fog rolled out, we saw more and more stags, but it was either the distance between us or the size of the animal that kept me from pulling the trigger, so we kept on walking, glassing, and calling. Towards the end of the day, we spotted this very, let's just say, frisky bull, and oh, how I wished I was on that other ridge. And if there were some magical way to make wishes come true right now, I can promise you I'd be a happy man. Luckily, in came Iris to the rescue.
Let's go.
What do we do with this?
Okay, you have to take your wish
Yes.
in your mind, then close your eyes, and then you have to...
Okay, here we go. My wish.
Oh, good job.
Do you want to know what my wish is?
No, it's your wishes.
You don't?
But now I'm sure that it will be happen.
It will be. I hope so. My wish is for red wine tonight. We all know that wishes and prayers are not always answered, and as we came down off the mountain, I came across this farmer out milking his cows. And then I wondered, is that a sign? Am I supposed to be drinking milk instead of red wine? You've heard the saying, curiosity killed the cat. Oh, obviously that cat is just getting fat, but my curiosity definitely got the best of me, and I had to try for myself.
Let's go.
Oh yeah. I grew up with livestock, and I was actually pretty good at this back in the day, but all I managed to do here was just get milk all over my jacket. So I stopped wasting this guy's time and let him get back to work. The way he can do it. I got like 3 squirts out, which is the story of my life. I leave the farmer alone and we walk about 100 yards to meet the farmer's wife, who makes cheese from that milk. This has been getting done this way in this town, probably by this family for hundreds of years. This is why I love hunting. It's not about killing, it's about adventures like this. I love this.
I numeri.
It's so good.
It tastes better when you know where it's from.
That's right. Yeah, for some reason it tastes better when I know that I just milked this cow.
Yeah.
Big stags. And coffee. Sweet coffee. On my second morning in the Italian Alps, we get an early start, and our crew has shrunk. Andrea, the gamekeeper, Luca, and I all head up the mountain to a spot we kind of missed out on yesterday. We've come to a spot here this morning that we came to yesterday, but we got here too late because we lollygagged around all morning. So now we're here before the sun came up. And something just occurred to me. I feel like the Italians are sabotaging me. They keep feeding me full of cheese, and gnocchi, and pasta, and dessert, and wine. And I think it's because they just want to watch me huff and puff as I go up the mountain. They're like, look at the fat American. If that's the case, it's working. Because I'm sucking wind. Now you might think I'm joking, but I'm not. Just like yesterday, we walked and hiked and walked and hiked. And normally I can keep up with the best of them, but today I just felt like I was sucking wind. In case you're wondering, that's what sucking wind sounds like. Yesterday we saw tons of animals and heard tons of roaring. Today, we saw and heard nothing. I only have 2 days to get this done, and I'm starting to get worried. So at the end of the day, when I saw this spiker hanging with a few females, I seriously considered pulling the trigger. I'm passing that one, and I just hope we're going to be rewarded later. That might have been my chance. We're running out of time.
He has 4 female with him.
He's a lucky guy.
Yeah.
I wish I had been that lucky when I was that young. As my 2-day hunt comes to an end, and as my mind begins to accept the failure that has just occurred, Luca speaks with Andrea and arranges for one more day of hunting. But there's only one catch. Today is Thursday, and for some reason only known to the good Lord himself, you can't hunt on Tuesdays or Fridays in Italy. Seriously. So that means I've got a day off until I can hunt again, and you can bet your ass that I'm going to spend that day hunting for the 2 things that Italy is probably most famous for: food and wine. An hour and a half away is the village of Barbaresco, which is at the center of one of the most renowned winemaking areas in all of Italy. To get a good look around, Luca and I climbed to the top of the medieval tower that's in the center of town. It was built around the year 1000 to protect and defend against invaders, and from here you can see not only the entire town, but also the miles and miles of rolling hills and vineyards that make this area famous. And that of course makes me thirsty, so we climb down and go to visit one of the area's most famous vineyards, Ca del Baio, which has been owned and operated for generations by the Grasso family. And after I arrive, I'm greeted by Paola Grasso, who proudly begins to show me around. This is beautiful.
This is our tasting room, and this one, when I was child, it was a stable with animals.
Oh, okay. Paola's passion for wine and her family business is immediately apparent, and it's infectious. She takes me into their private family wine vault, which has at least a few bottles of every vintage that they have ever made. As she shows me around, she tells me that Ca del Baio proudly has 1 foot in the old and 1 foot in the new. The place is all at once modern and vintage. They creatively mesh old world techniques with newer ones, and she tells me that this evolution is at the heart of the success of their winery, embracing the modern age in an ancient place while still clinging to their roots. And speaking of roots, we then take a walk through the very vines that make this famous wine. And then she saved the best for last. I'm invited to sit down with the entire family to break bread, enjoy local delicacies, a few laughs, and some world-class wine. with some incredible people. But all good things must come to an end, and I say goodbye to the Grasso family because I've worked up an appetite. So back in town, Luca and I meet up with Iris and head to a restaurant called Kompomak. And I'll be honest, I had no idea what I was about to experience. Kompomak is all about experiencing food, not just eating it. And it's run by an incredible staff, including Michelin star-rated chef Alessandro Cabalbo, who immediately showed me that they cut no corners at this restaurant by shaving me off a slice of raw beef that's been dry-aged for 60 days. If there was ever such a thing as a beautiful piece of meat, it's right here. I wish I knew how to say unbelievable in Italian, because that is unbelievable. And speaking of unbelievable, next, Alessandro took me into their famous wine cellar, which is a dangerous place to be sure, not because of the drinking of the wine, but because of how much drinking some of that wine might cost. I don't even want to know how much money is in this room. After that, we were led to a table, served a little wine, and then it was time to get serious. Salute. Cheers. So, I will say this. We were just informed that there will be a 12-course meal now with wine pairings for each thing. Buckle up. With each course, I felt like I had tasted the best thing ever. That is unbelievable. Somehow, each course kept getting better than the one before it, even if I was starting to slow down a little bit. This is only course 5 of 12, and I am running out of steam. This is hands down the best meal I've ever had in my life, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't exhausting. Finally, the coffee. Finally, it's over. Although I don't want it to be over. I want it to happen again just 1 hour from now, after I take a nap. If these ancient walls in Italy could tell you what they've seen and heard from past hunters, you'd probably hear a lot of stories of not only success, but of would'ves and could'ves, almosts and what-ifs. And here in the Italian Alps, I've added to those stories, like what if I had shot a smaller stag on my first day, or we should have been there 5 minutes earlier, or what if that stag had been just a little closer. And that has been my story here so far. And so far, I've struck out. But I've been given one more morning to hunt, and it's the middle of the rut. And as every hunter knows, everything can change in the blink of an eye.
All right, we finally found the one we're looking for. And he's with 12 females. He's in there just rutting all over the place. This is a perfect scenario. The only problem is we have to make up a little bit of open ground here to get a shot.
There are so many metaphors that could be appropriate for this situation. The end of the line, the bottom of the ninth, all the eggs in one basket. Regardless of the cliche, my time is almost up. This moment and my time here in the Alps is going to end up in one of two ways. I did it, or I didn't.
Yeah, it's down. It's down.
He's down?
Yes, down. Congratulations.
Oh my friend.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Very good.
Holy moly.
Wow.
Viva l'Italia, baby. There's an old saying in Italian that goes something like "Finché vita, c'è speranza," which means where there is life, there is hope. This one extra day put life back in the hunt, and hope followed. I was pretty convinced this wasn't going to happen. I have been to Italy several times in my life, but this trip proves that you can't truly know anything, anywhere, or anyone through just one time or one conversation. Hearing these things roar in a country that I have absolutely fallen in love with,
is truly one of the most special things that I've done.
If you ask me, the best memories are forged by being okay with a little bit of hard work and the willingness to try new things. Well, I showed up to Italy equipped with both, and so far, she has not disappointed.
I'll never forget this, and the best part is that my trip here in Italy is not even over yet. I go from here on to the next thing. I love Italy. I love Italy. I do.